Hi, cuz, and we are here on day 10 to read more of Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone. And yesterday you left a lot of great predictions. Pretty much almost everybody believes that they're going to get caught. Most of you believe that Snape or Filch will be there and they will catch them. Or they'll get trapped and they'll get caught by Snape and Filch. Literally, I think everybody, Darling, Nishvita, Trinity, Caden, Mason, Tanish, all of you guys said yes, they're going to get trapped or Snape and Filch will find them. Servange made his prediction, which was that Hermione and Ron are going to jump in because if you remember where we left off, Harry had jumped in and he was fine. He had landed on what he thought was plants. We've got this really cool picture right here of him falling. And I'm going to start reading from this page over here right now. So let's see how far we can get today. We probably won't finish this chapter, but we will get to hear some exciting things happen. Ron followed straight away. He landed sprawled next to Harry. "What is this stuff?" were his first words. "I don't know. It's sort of a plant thing. I suppose it's here to break the fall. Come on, Hermione." The distant music stopped. There was a loud bark from the dog, but Hermione had already jumped. She landed on Harry's other side. "We must be miles under the school," she said. Lucky this plant's here, really," said Ron. "Lucky!" shrieked Hermione. "Look at you both!" She leapt up and struggled towards the damp wall. She had to struggle because the moment she had landed, the plant had started to twist, snake-like tendrils around her ankles. As for Harry and Ron, their legs had already been bound tightly in long creepers without their noticing. Hermione had managed to free herself before the plant got a firm grip on her. Now she watched in horror as the two boys fought to pull the plant off them. But the more they strained against it, the tighter and faster the plant wound around them. "Stop moving!" Hermione ordered them. "I know what this is. It's Devil's Snare." "Oh, I'm glad we all know what it's called. That's a great help," snarled Ron, leaning back, trying to stop the plant curling around his neck. Does he really mean? Pause. Does Ron really mean that it's a great help to know what it is? No, of course not. Ron's being sarcastic, right? He's saying the opposite of what he really means. "Shut up! I'm trying to remember how to kill it," said Hermione. "Well, hurry up. I can't breathe," Harry gasped, wrestling as it curled around his chest. Devil's Snare, what did Professor Smout say? It likes the dark and the damp." "So light a fire," Harry choked. "Yes, of course, but there's no wood," Hermione cried, wringing her hands. "Have you gone mad?" Ron bellowed. "Are you a witch or not?" And you can see over here that it is in all capitals, so you know he's yelling at her. "Oh, right," said Hermione, and she whipped out her wand, waved it, muttered something, and sent jets of bluebell flames, the same bluebell flame she had used on Snape at the plant. In a matter of seconds, the two boys felt its loosening its grip, and cringed away from the light and warmth. Wriggling and flailing, it unraveled itself from their bodies, and they were able to pull free. "Lucky you pay attention in herbology, Hermione," said Harry, as he joined her by the wall, wiping sweat off his face. "Yeah," said Ron, "and lucky Harry doesn't lose his head in a crisis. There's no wood, honestly." "This way," said Harry, pointing down a stone passageway, which was the only way on. They could all they could hear apart from their footsteps was the gentle drip of water trickling down the walls. The passageway sloped downwards, and Harry was reminded of Gringotts. With an unpleasant jolt of the heart, he remembered the dragons said to be guarding the vaults in the Wizard's Bank. If they met a dragon, a fully grown dragon, Norbert had been bad enough. "Can you hear something?" Ron whispered. Harry listened. A soft rustling and clinking seemed to be coming from up ahead. "Do you think it's a ghost?" I don't know. Those sound like wings to me. There's light ahead. I can see something moving. They reached the end of the passageway and saw before them a brilliantly lit chamber. Its ceiling arching high above them, it was full of small blue, jewel bright birds, fluttering and tumbling all around the room. On the opposite side of the chamber was a heavy wooden door. Do you think they'll attack us if we cross the room? Said Ron. Probably, said Harry. They don't look very vicious, but I suppose if they all swoop down at once, well, there's nothing for it. I'll run. He took a deep breath, covered his face with his arms, and sprinted across the room. He expected to feel sharp beaks and claws tearing at him any second, but nothing happened. He reached the door untouched. He pulled the handle, but it was locked. The other two followed him. They tugged and heaved at the door, but it wouldn't budge, not even when Hermione tried her Aloha Mora charm. Now what? Said Ron. These birds, they can't be here just for decoration, said Hermione. They watched the birds soaring overhead, glittering. Glittering? They're not birds, Harry said suddenly. They're keys. Winged keys. Look carefully. So that must mean he looked around the chamber to find, while the other two squinted, up at a flock of keys. Yes, look, broomsticks. We've got to catch the key to the door. But there are hundreds of them. Ron examined the lock on the door. We're looking for a big old-fashioned one, probably silver like the handle. They each seized a broomstick and kicked off into the air, soaring into the mist of the cloud of keys. They grabbed and snatched, but the bewildered keys darted and dived so quickly that it was almost impossible to catch one. Go ahead and pause and make a prediction. Do you think that they're going to be able to catch the key? And why do you think they'll be able to catch the key? Is the reason why you said they would be able to have something to do with Harry? Let's see. Not for nothing though was Harry the youngest seeker in a century. He had a knack for spotting things other people didn't. After a minute's weaving through a whirl of rainbow feathers, he noticed a large silver key that had a bent wing, as if it had already been caught and stuffed roughly through a keyhole, and that must be that key. If you can see, it looks like it's messed up, right, compared to these other keys. That's the one, he called to the others. The big one. No, there. With bright blue wings. The feathers are all crumpled on one side. Ron went speeding in the direction that Harry was pointing, crashed into the ceiling, and nearly fell off his broom. We've got to close in on it, Harry called, not taking his eyes off the key with the damaged wing. Ron, you come in from above. Hermione, stay below and stop it from going down, and I'll try to catch it. Right now! Ron dived, Hermione rocketed upwards, and the key dodged them both, and Harry streaked after it. It sped towards a wall. Harry leaned forward, and with a nasty crunching noise, pinned it against the stone with one hand. Ron and Hermione's cheers echoed through the high chamber. They landed quickly, and Harry ran to the door, the key struggling in his hand. He'd rammed it into the lock and turned. It worked. The moment the lock had clicked open, the key took flight again. It looked very battered now that it had been caught twice. Ready? Harry asked the other two, his hand on the door handle. They nodded. He pulled the door open. The next chamber was so dark they couldn't see anything at all. But as they stepped into it, light suddenly flooded the room to reveal an astonishing sight. They were standing on the edge of a huge chessboard, behind the black chessmen, which were all taller than they were, and carved from what looked like black stone. Facing them, way across the chamber, were the white pieces. Harry, Ron, and Hermione shivered slightly. The towering white chessmen had no faces. What do we do now? Harry whispered. It's obvious, isn't it? Said Ron. We've got to play our way across the room. Behind the white pieces, they could see another door. How? Said Hermione nervously. I think, said Ron, we're going to have to be the chessmen. He walked up to a black knight and put his hand out to touch the knight's horse. At once the stone sprang to life. The horse pawed the ground, and the knight turned its helmeted head to look down at Ron. Do we, have to join you to get across? The Black Knight nodded. Ron turned towards the other two. This wants thinking about, he said. I suppose we've got to take the place of 3 of the black pieces. Harry and Hermione stayed quiet, watching Ron think. Finally, he said, now don't be offended or anything, but neither of you are very good at chess. We're not offended, said Harry quickly. Just tell us what to do. Well, Harry, you take the place of that bishop, and Hermione, you go there instead of that castle. What about you? I'm going to be a knight, said Ron. The chessmen seemed to have been listening because of these words. A knight, a bishop, and a castle turned their backs on the white pieces and walked off the board, leaving 3 empty squares, which Harry, Ron, and Hermione took. White always plays first in chess, said Ron, peering across the board. Yes, look. A white pawn had moved forward 2 squares. Ron started to direct the black pieces. They moved silently wherever he sent them. Harry's knees were trembling. What if they lost? Harry moved diagonally 4 squares to the right. Their first real shot came when their other knight was taken. The white queen smashed him off the floor and dragged him off the board, where he lay quite still, face down. Yikes, that's kind of scary. Ooh, and here's a kind of cool picture. I don't know if you can see it. There's Hermione, and I see there's Ron, and then there's Harry, and you could kind of see them around the chessboard pieces, right? It's kind of hard because it's a very dark page, and, there's a glare, as there always is when we read books. So I'm going to continue this, all right? And then we're going to stop on this page. Had to let that happen, said Ron, looking shaken. Leaves you free to take that bishop, Hermione. Go on. Every time one of their men was lost, the white pieces showed no mercy. Soon there was a huddle of black limp players slumped along the wall. Twice, Ron had only just noticed in time that Harry and Hermione were in danger. He himself darted around the board, taking almost as many white pieces as they had lost black ones. Nearly there, he muttered suddenly. Let me think. The white queen turned her blank face towards him. Yes, said Ron softly. It's the only way. I've got to be taken. No! Harry and Hermione shouted. That's chess, snapped Ron. You've got to make some sacrifices. I'll make my move, and she'll take me, and that leaves you free to checkmate the king, Harry. But do you want Snape to stop Snape or not? Ron, look, if you don't hurry up, he'll already have the stone. There was nothing else for it. Ready, Ron called, his face pale but determined. Here I go now. And don't hang around once you've won. He stepped forward and let the white queen pounce. She struck Ron hard around the head with her stone arm, and he crashed to the floor. Hermione screamed but stayed on her square. The white queen dragged Ron to one side. He looked as if he had been knocked out. Shaking, Harry moved 3 spaces to the left. The White King took off his crown and threw it at Harry's feet. They had won. The chessmen parted and bowed, leaving the door clear ahead. With one last desperate look back at Ron, Harry and Hermione charged through the door and up the next passageway. What if he's... He'll be all right, said Harry, trying to convince himself. What do you reckon's next? We've had sprouts. That was the devil's snare. Flitwick must have put charms on the keys. McGonagall transfigured the chessmen to make them alive. That leaves Quirrell's spell and Snape's. They had reached another door. All right, Harry whispered. Go on. Harry pushed it open, and then that's where we're going to stop. So we know whose rooms are next. We know that Quirrell and Snape are next. So now, whose room are we going to come to next? And what do you think they're going to have to do? They've already had to play wizard chess, survive some deadly plants, and catch a key. It'll be very interesting. All right, so make your predictions in the comments, guys.